A very good Overwatch update just released today. Balance changes to the main game and stadium. And it wouldn't be an Overwatch patch without a expensive skin crossover event. The Street Fighter skins do look very natural on several of the characters, not gonna lie. The mode's certainly going to need hero bans because this Cammy skin in third person is going to be overpowered. I have a hard enough time as it is hitting my shots, so these cosmetics certainly aren't going to help. Mercy gets a Mythic weapon skin, and Overwatch Classic makes a return to the October 2020 patch. They say experience the October 2020 patch in all of its 6v6 glory, with returning balance changes, role queue, and heroes like Sigma, Echo, Batiste, and more. Among content creators, the October patch is the thing of mythos. Also probably a bit of rose-tinted glasses, as the Overwatch League wasn't running at the time, so whatever the optimal strategy wasn't necessarily metagamed. Our community was a bit smaller back then as well. The patch was amazing, but patches could only do so much. I'm curious to see what the effects of role queue on 6v6 will be. Already, I find that Stadium is having queue time problems, which puts me off the mode a little bit, or at least puts me off waiting in line with the Mercy players to play support. For tank fans, though, I will say this patch is best for the players that like the classic tank synergies. With the most, let's say, quote, balanced version of the bunker tanks we had ever seen. This was a patch after they added Echo, but tuned her down a bit, making Ryan and Winston comps more competitive up against their Orisa Sigma counterparts that had previously been dominating the era of the game. There's a general update where the player report tool will now give you instant verification if the player is already actioned. You now will be immediately informed that the player that you reported is banned or suspended when they are reported. I've noticed that the main game's hero balance updates are getting less and less severe over time, more subtle, which I think in some ways is really good, because rearranging the chairs on the Titanic was never a good balance strategy, but it should also indicate that whatever data that they're receiving isn't too severe on any given hero if they don't feel the need to be heavy-handed. That being said, a few of these I take a bit of issue with. Hazard gets some buffs after previously being the whipping boy, tuned down from his top spot prior to hero bans even existing anyway. They add a little bit more power to his passive and his major perk. Now his vault ledge climb animation time will be reduced from 0.6 seconds to 0.4. Important as executing that next action, whether it be a shot or your next ability, will intensify the surprise mechanic. He also gets his major perk Anarchic Zeal buffed. Spike Guard's lifesteal is increased from 25% to 40%. I think the truth is the damage on it's kind of low, so the lifesteal percentage is going to be negligible, especially when you block so much damage from the front anyway. Like, do I need lifesteal when I'm blocking? His other major perk is Deep Leap, where Violent Leap's range is increased by 20%. That's a very large, tangible boost on a character that is a dive tank, yes, but the range of his mobility is one of his more major weaknesses, so leaping farther is just a much bigger upgrade than any amount of lifesteal, I think. Though on more brawly maps, I think you can go for the lifesteal. But in most matchups, I think, especially when you consider the fact that at the tier 3 perk level, a lot of characters are more mobile, you also gaining in that mobility power creep battle is pretty key. Buffs to Reinhardt. The devs say Reinhardt generally does well across the game, but falls in effectiveness at high ranks. We're increasing the speed and responsiveness of Fire Strike to make it more reliable from range, especially with these zippy and explosive Fire Strikes in Stadium being one of the more popular builds. Looks like they're trying to empower you with your ranged attack as Rein here. Projectile speed increased from 20 to 30 meters per second, and the recovery time reduced from 0.63 to 0.45, meaning you can shoot them out farther and faster. Lower recovery time on the Fire Strike cast also means his DPS slightly goes up. This kind of change, although is a buff, might take some getting used to, as if you've played Rein for a long time, you're used to the Fire Strike sort of having a lumbering, lethargic pace to it. Now they're speeding that up, which will take some getting used to, but will be more effective, especially against the mobility creep. And we've got a new DPS character that literally lingers in the air, so good luck challenging her. Speaking of Freja, her quick dash gets a slight nerf. The cooldown is increased from 3.5 seconds to a full 4 seconds. The devs say Freja has continued to climb in win rate. Now that players have become accustomed to her kit, we are partially reverting the quick dash cooldown to reduce her airtime and frequency of explosive bolts. She also seems to be one of the most banned characters in my games. Genji gets a buff. The Shuriken primary fire and secondary fire. Ammo has been reduced from 30 to 24, but the projectile speed increased from 60 to 75. The devs say Genji's shurikens can feel inconsistent against fast-moving targets. Increasing the projectile speed will make them more reliable, while the ammo reduction helps offset the added effectiveness. Definitely with mobility creep going up, the power creep of everything has to go up, I guess. Genji's alt fire you typically use at closer ranges, so I don't think you're going to notice it so much there, but definitely the primary fire poke. It's going to make you a lot more consistent, however, with a couple volleys less before you need the downtime to reload. Hanzo just got a skin, so he's got to get a buff. Stormbow's draw time reduced from 0.8 to 0.72 seconds, and Sonic Disruption's minor perk gets a massive buff. It was 12 seconds to hack a health pack, now it goes up to 30. Hanzo's been underperforming recently, so we're reverting his bow drawback speed to its original, faster value. The Sonic Disruption perk isn't picked very often, but increasing its duration will make it more useful and require less upkeep to control a health pack. Pharah gets some nerfs, rip in my SR. Drift Thruster's minor perk, the movement speed while using Barrage reduced by 20%, and the Concussion Implosion major perk, the distance of the pull is reduced by 50%. Major nerf to Pharah's perks, who was one of the biggest beneficiaries in the perks meta, in my opinion. The devs say Drift Thrusters and Concussion Implosion have been too consistent at securing kills. These adjustments will give better opportunities for counterplay when fighting against these perks. There was a day when Barrage was like the worst ult in the game, and now I think it's one of the best. Mainly because you get its upgrade around the same time you're going to get the ult anyway. Back in my day, we expected a Pharah to never complete the voice line. So now, while she can move while barraging, she'll be a little slower, easier to hit. And I'll be honest, I don't always take Concussive Implosion because it does also make you lose the bouncing mobility tool or knock off the map tool of the normal Conca Blast, which is very useful in its own right. I tend to prefer it on smaller range maps with more chokes. And in that environment, then this nerf won't matter too much. With the severity of how far it takes you reduced by 50%, you'll have to adjust your muscle memory of where to aim your rockets after using it for follow-up. Reaper's Die Triggers major perk, recovery reduced from 0.7 to 0.5. The devs say we're aligning the recovery of dire triggers with Reaper's primary fire to improve the flow when alternating between the two. Slight buff as well to the fire rate. I tend to want to like this perk and haven't in the past, so maybe this buff will help it out. Soldier got a much needed upgrade to his major perk stim pack. Now it no longer anti-heals you. It does 75 damage on use and is activated on weapon swap. So that means your heal station is just a normal heal station, and instead you have a separate stim pack ability where you do some self damage, which maybe you can self heal anyway by standing in your heal station, and will feel like an active power-up. Remember, this is a mechanic taken from StarCraft, and even in that game, when the Marines would activate a stim pack, you would try to heal them. So the old anti-heal effect didn't even necessarily make sense to begin with, to keep up with the reference that it's clearly coming from. But now they definitely need a voice line where he says, "Ah, that's the stuff." Sombra's Translocator fade in time increased from 0.15 to 0.3 seconds, and stealth reveal duration on taking damage is increased from 1 to 1.3 seconds. The devs say invisibility is a frustrating mechanic to play against for many, so we're increasing the windows for counterplay. Sombra will now take longer to exit stealth and to disappear after taking damage. I gotta be honest, Sombra's one of the most banned heroes in ranked, and I don't even think she's that good. Bit of a problem for the devs because it's not always the case that the most OP things are the ones that are banned the most. It might just be obnoxious things you don't want to have to deal with. So yes, invisibility is a frustrating mechanic. You guys invented it. You knew it'd be frustrating then. So she'll be revealed significantly longer, almost a third of a second once you take damage, and take about twice as much time to fade in. Pretty significant nerfs to Sombra's invisibility, but I don't know if anybody's feeling of playing against her is a numbers-based issue. Widowmaker gets a strange series of buffs. Widow's primary fire maximum spread has been reduced from 3 to 2 degrees, and the damage increased from 13 to 14. The perk Deadly Dew, Venom Mine's bonus damage increased from 50% to 100%. Oh boy. The devs say Widowmaker is a more map-dependent hero than most, and now with hero bans restricting her usefulness, we're looking to make her viable in more situations. I'm gonna take issue with their verbiage here. It's not that she's less useful, it's that she's less pickable. She's still useful on those maps, it's just that she gets banned more often. She gets target banned on her good maps, so therefore, when do you get to play Widowmaker in ranked if she's consistently banned on the maps that are designed for Widowmaker? Well, I guess their answer to that is to make some of her brawling a bit better with her mine and primary fire, which is just her weapon spread. A little ridiculous of a concept, if you don't mind me saying so. These numbers are so small, like it kind of just doesn't matter, but I think the philosophy does. Like it's just, these are bad ideas. Sombra and Widow get banned a lot due to their playstyle, kind of just the nature of the game. I'm glad in these patch notes, they're very subtle, just tweaks here or there, but it also is kind of a waste of time. It's like, I feel like they need to earn a paycheck, so they're putting the balance in the bag, but these are kind of irrelevant. On to support. Illari's solar rifle secondary fire range has increased from 15 to 20 meters, 5 meters of range. On her heal beam, holy moly. Illari often has to move to high-risk positions to heal effectively. Extending the range of her healing beam will give her more flexibility in how she positions and supports her team. Low-key, I've learned to love Illari, especially playing her in 6v6 open queue where the knockback resist on tanks isn't there. But she also has some good perks overall. Underrated hero in my opinion, and with the knockback, parry escape, and an area of effect heal, I think people don't realize that she's kind of like Brig with a headshot. Pretty legit. Lifeweaver, Healing Blossom, Primary Fire, Auto Charge Rate has increased by 25%. And his Super Bloom major perk, the number of hits to trigger reduced from 20 to 16. The devs say the opportunity cost to use Thorn Volley is still too high compared to consistently charging Healing Blossom. We are improving the auto charge to make weaving damage between healing less punishing. I swear this hero has got to be one of the most rebalanced in Overwatch 2. If you think about like where he launched at and how many things they've changed, I think especially after learning from the appeal of Marvel Rivals characters, Lifeweaver is a bit of a missed opportunity because they could add more complexity and management to his kit, but because he's so simple, he's just got to have kind of nutsoid stats to still just be an average performer. Super durable and reliable, but imagine if he had an extra button to contribute to offense somehow, because then the stats on everything else in his kit could be lowered down a bit to be more reasonable. But hey, what are you gonna do? A bunch of stadium updates now. I'll try to go through these quickly, summarizing them, because I don't think this mode is that popular right now. And the problem with Stadium is there's so many damn numbers that we can be here all day. Importantly, the Mercy rule will now trigger if the cash disparity is at 10K or more, down from 15. They've also added a system where players are granted an additional boost to their round completion cash in rounds that end with players on both teams having lower than intended amounts of cash. I think this must be in games where the objective just happened to be a blowout and the round is really short. That's what I think they mean. This additional cash will be equivalent for every player. So kind of the universal basic income for Stadium cash. Bunch of Stadium changes to Reinhardt, who they have previously said was a top pick and performer. Reinhardt's power smashing, which makes him into a life-stealing berserker, has lower stats on the front end, but has higher stacks. It used to go up to 5, now it's gonna go up to 10, which basically means you can peak out at the same values you had before, but it'll take you longer to do so. To me, my friends gets a small buff. Wilhelm Wagon gets a nerf. An important note here, they say in the dev comments, this nerf here to Rocket Strike, which increases the fire strike projectile speed, it's getting nerfed, but it's because it's compensating for the buff in the main game, which is a little strange. That's how the mechanics work, apparently. The rare hero item Chimera's Maw decreased ability power down to 5%. It was 10. And they note here that the melee build for Reinhardt was performing too consistently given the high payoff of the build. Freja is added to the damage category in Stadium now with her own list of powers. There is a whole lot of them. It would take a long time to read them all, so I'm just gonna say more arrows, more explosions. That's your options with usually these types of DPS in Stadium. Soldier 76's power cratered has its increased explosion damage down to 15%. It was 25, and the devs say that's because it was one-shotting a bit too consistently. Global item changes for Stadium Champions kits. The epic item has its cost increased to 1,400 and the ability power to 35%, just a small nerf from where it was at 40, but certainly a lot of ability builds loved this item. We'll have to see if the 5% difference makes a big deal. Increased cost for the Closer, Eye of the Spider, Nano Cola, Talon Modification Module, Gloom Gauntlet, Icy Coolant. It looks like inflation is hitting us in Stadium as well. Gosh darn it. Wait, hold on. Some discounts to some other items. Multi-tool, the rare ability item, has a decrease in cost down to 4,500, and the cooldown reduction, though, is also nerfed to 5%, down from 10. Ability power goes up, though, to 10%. There's not so many items that change cooldown reduction, which I think, having played Stadium enough, might be one of the more devastating items to sneak in on the right character. Ability power makes you more devastating, but cooldown reduction can make you unstoppable. Like, put lots of cooldown reduction on Zarya. That is insane. To have to fight through several bubbles. No, I'm out. Bloodbound epic survival item decreased the cost to 9,000. Generalist vial increased life after reviving 250 up from 200. Not a good item, honestly. Electrolytes common survival item now gives 100 overhealth every time you respawn instead of just at the start of the round. That's kind of interesting. Might be competitive or actually overpowered, because if you think about it, some of the other common survival items at the start of the game only give like a 5% increase. 100 overhealth on every engage might actually be overpowered for the early rounds of Stadium, but the cost does go up to 1,500, which is the same price as the armor perk, and you could get both, because I believe you start at 3,000, which is kind of a yikes now that I think about it. But probably because the offensive items are almost universally taken, this is trying to, quote, balance that, but I think it's a bit of a mistake. Balance isn't necessarily what you want. Don't know if we want more brawly early rounds of Stadium, but anyway. Adrenaline shot, common survival item, increased health to 25, up from 10, and the cost goes up as well. The devs explain themselves here. Stacking large amounts of weapon or ability power have become too prevalent, crowding out other itemization options. We are lowering the cost efficiency of these items to promote greater item diversity, and weaken builds that rely on high amounts of burst through stacking a weapon ability or ability power. We're also strengthening some weaker item options. Maybe a mistake though. Like, do we want more sustain, or do we want to be able to kill things? What's the gameplay ramification of weapon and ability power being less common? Like, I think it's okay with how common it is. You guys correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but is there any Stadium players that just want to pick survival only? Don't you want to play this mode so you can do your explosions? I thought it kind of made sense that survival wasn't the focus of the armory. So I don't think they have to fix that. Because here's the problem. The moment that you make survival competitive with offense, you're rewarding just stats on a character as opposed to the execution it takes to use the offense. Cooldowns and attacks, you have to aim or time or whatever. Survival, you just stand there and get shot at, which is not fun to interact with. So a little bit of a mistake, I think, on their part. But overall, like, good changes. Objectively balanced ideas, but as we know, balance is a bit overrated. I've been playing ranked again in Overwatch after quite a long break. Upset at the lack of hero bans, but now that they're in, I actually think it is quite a good experience. Some of the balance changes are questionable, but subtle, as to not really hurt anything. They put a lot of small tweaks into Stadium, but overall nothing groundbreaking, other than adding the new hero Freja finally to the mode. Overall, all things considered, a good, solid Overwatch update. Guys, let me know what you think about the Overwatch patch today in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave it a like, and don't forget to click subscribe and the bell icon to actually get notified when our videos come out. That's been it for me. I've been Frito. I'll see you guys next time.